it undone. What you did to me, what you did to me, what you did to me, what you did to me. I can't believe that anyone could make me feel this way. No, I can't believe I would let you get away with this. So don't you worry like that. You're not an excuse, so come back. Heads underwater. Now don't you hurry like that. I'm ready for your attack. It's underwater. It's underwater. What can I do? What can I say? Please make it undone. What you did to me, I don't know what to do. Will I ever love again? Make it undone, 'cause my heart is breaking. What can I do? What can I say? Please make it undone. What you did to me, what you did to me, what you did to me, what you did to me. I can't believe that anyone could make me feel this way. No, I can't believe I would let you get away with this. So don't you feel like that? You're not an excuse, so come back. It's underwater. Now don't you hurry like that. I'm ready for your attack. It's underwater. Oh, it's underwater. Hey, it's underwater. Oh, yeah, it's underwater. It's underwater. Oh, it's underwater. Taking just be. Don't take it. Taking just don't deal and live my life. Don't take it personal, but I ain't lying. I ain't hiding. I've been grinding, multiplying. I've been trying to get my weight up, staying prayed up, meditating and taking time away. You always posting up pictures, trying to look like you winning. I'm writing rhymes in the kitchen, soaking in moments we live in. Yeah, you got the nerve to be on me, faking your life for the IG. If you got my number, don't add me, 'cause baby, I'm on hiatus. I'm on hiatus. I'm on hiatus. I'm on hiatus. Baby, don't check for me. Taking time out to be and live my life off screen. Taking time out to be and live my life. Hey. Taking just to be and live my life. Don't make it personal. We just building. It's my season, lay foundation. Make a name for generations, please, and make a then take a break or a little vacation and chasing blues away. Hey, hey. You always posting up pictures, trying to look like you winning, or look like you always be working, soaking the moments you live in. Yeah, you got the nerve to be on me, faking your life for the IG. If you got my number, don't add me, 'cause baby, I'm on hiatus. I'm on hiatus. I'm I'm a hiatus. I'm a hiatus. Baby, don't check for me. Taking time out to be and live my life off screen. Taking time out to be and live my life. I'm in a place serene and pure and free. Hey,
Live over here on Instagram, ready to go.
Welcome. John Piper, joined by Grayson Nolette. How you doing, sir?
Feels great to be here today, John. Episode 7, Season 4 of the Denco Gridiron Show. Thanks to everybody who has joined us today on this fantastic early Wednesday afternoon.
Man, I had to do a double take when you told me pre-show that this was episode 7. It's just kind of hard to believe.
You were kind of surprised. I was like, I know, but if you go on our Instagram or you can go on our Facebook and watch any of our past episodes if you want to check out how we've gotten to this point. But we're constantly seeking improvement, constantly trying to get better every weekend. We've got another great show planned for our fans today.
Constantly. Hey, we were just on the phone with Coach Cody Moore talking about a few things before the show, and he's excited about all the things going on up at Braswell. We'll break down Braswell a little bit here shortly, but hey, thank you so much for tuning in, whether you're on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Periscope, or now the 4th channel over here on Instagram Live. When we started this thing 4 years ago, we were just on Facebook Live, Grayson. So we've expanded 4-fold.
Well, thankfully, technology has expanded as well and has provided shows like ours with the opportunity to just, continue to get out there on multiple platforms. So it's great that we're able to just be all over the place for our fans.
Hey, and we do like your feedback. A couple shows ago, we had a little audio challenges. So, hey, pop in the comments. Let us know how audio, videos working. We got a little music on in the background. Hey, grab our friends at Sucklebusters there. If you just hold that up real quick.
Check it out.
If you'll type in, we're going to do something a little more official, but we're going to do some giveaways throughout the season. Gift cards. I think we got some Marty B's gift cards, some other restaurants. Our friends at Sucklebusters have been part of the show for a couple seasons. So if you'll just type in BBQ in the comments, we'll get you entered into a tailgate package giveaway. And we'll announce that maybe as early as one of the giveaways as early as next week there, Grayson.
Yeah, we also want to give a huge shout out to one of our main sponsors, Marty B's, located over there in Bartonville, Texas.
Yeah, let me bring them up.
Yeah, check out that graphic we got for them.
There.
They're a huge location. They've got tons of room and space just on their property, so really easy to social distance over there, John. And they just like to promote a friendly, very Texan, authentically Texan type of atmosphere. And great place for your family to go, great place to go on a date with your loved one or whatever. When it comes to their food, though, they're all about quality and flavor, John. Their beef is sourced directly from 44 farms in Carrollton, Texas. And that place has been making hormone and antibiotic-free beef since 1909. So you're talking very high-quality stuff coming out of Marty B's kitchen. And, yeah.
Hey, another one, our friends at budbartleyhomes.com. They're been building neighborhoods in North Texas for over 30 years. You can go to budbartleyhomes.com. They're building in 3 new neighborhoods. One thing, Grayson, got my attention. They're building, there's I think it's like 18 lots right adjacent to Lake Grapevine. You can, from your back porch, you could watch the fireworks at the Gaylord Texan. Man, I can speak confidently about Bud Bartley Homes. They built my home over 16 years ago, and we couldn't be happier with Bud Bartley Homes.
Yeah, and if you want to check out more of their work, just go to budbartleyhomes.com. They've got tons of photos. They have a Pinterest account that shows a lot of their exterior photos, interior photos of a lot of the different homes that they've had the pleasure of working on. So just some fantastic quality homes coming out of Bud Bartley for sure.
It looks like Ann Colby's tuned in. She has typed in the barbecue. Looks like, I think, a Flower Mound fan from her Facebook graphic there. Thank you, Ann, for tuning in. And you are entered. We'll have to go back through and make sure we get all these people. We'll have a more of an official way to do some drawings here, but we're going to give away something next week. So make sure you come back next week for that.
And not only that, but just so people know, we are working on getting our Patreon going very soon. So make sure you tell your friends, tell your family to start watching, and we'll hopefully have that going maybe next show as well, John.
Yeah, that would be great. We're looking to enhance the studio, add some equipment, and that's really, we do the show for the community, but also Grayson is a UNT grad student and an intern, and we would like to feed Grayson as well. So
hey, but for the most part, we want to be able to reinvest a lot of that back into the show and continue to up the quality that we bring over here every Wednesday.
Well, Grayson, let's get right into it.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about a little Texas high school football.
We got to start with Geyer versus Ryan, obviously. I mean, John, you were on the call for it at CH Collins. It was the game of the week for our show, definitely. And Denton Ryan, you made this prediction. Now, actually, I want to say, first off, we made two predictions about this game that we were both right about. I said that the cap for the fans was going there. It was going to get sold out, which it was.
Yeah, great atmosphere. CH Collins, they're in the north side of Denton, seats around 12,000, and they allocated, I think, 2,400 tickets to each side. The nice thing is it was a home stadium for both teams, so both bands got to be there. We were talking pregame.
Both bands got to be there,
with
too.
My
That's
partner,
awesome
Rick Threlkill, and we were right. We did the radio for the game. It was probably the most realistic high school football experience in the state, if not the country, probably for the whole season.
I mean, if it were a normal year, you could have probably predicted that entire place would have been filled out. I mean, it would have been, but due to the circumstances, still, I said that the cap was going to get met. I mean, I knew that place was going to get filled out to the farthest that safety regulations would allow, and that's exactly what happened. Now, the second thing that we predicted on the show, John, which came from you said that the Raiders were going to come out on top in this one last show, and they did, 23-20.
Yeah, we knew it would be close. We thought there would be more points.
It was going to be a great game.
We thought there would be maybe a few more points, but
I mean, you really hit it on the head, dude.
Both good defenses. We had a chance to visit with Dr. Jamie Wilson, the Denton ISD superintendent, at halftime, and he commented the same thing, Grayson, that if this was the thing would have been sold out. The fan base was
it totally would have been. Absolutely.
Hey, during live TV, live radio, sometimes nature calls, man. Hopefully I muted that sneeze out. But it was a great atmosphere. Coach Hennigan, man, they have got a tough defense and really kind of stifled the Denton Geyer offense. Denton Geyer was missing one of their big star offensive lineman, Gabe Blair, that probably made an impact on what they could do running the ball and throwing the ball. But number 3 and number 4 in the state of Texas, I think top 25 in the country. Channel 8 was there. One of your former, I'll say employers. I guess I don't know if it was an employer or not. KNTU Radio was there. So a lot of media was there covering that game. And just a great atmosphere. But breaking it down, one thing that stands out, and Eli Stowers only threw the ball 10 times.
I mean, only for 39 yards as well, and he only had 9 carries for 28 yards. Honestly, just not a lot of touches for the Texas A&M commit, Eli Stowers. And you would have, I don't know, maybe thought that he would have just been it just didn't come off, at least on paper, that he was a central part of the game plan to I guess try to get the best of that Raiders defense, but instead it was BJ Phillips who got a majority of the touches. He had 24 carries, had 144 yards and 2 touchdowns. But yeah, that Wildcats offense just wasn't at its peak of efficiency. Only totaled 7 first downs for the whole game compared to Denton Ryan's 23.
Yeah, in talking to Coach Webb post game, I had a chance to visit with him on Monday. Part of the thing is Coach Webb, new head coach at Denton Geyer, so he's putting in a new offense.
Of course.
Only their second game. Coach Heim, new defensive coordinator, putting in a new defense. They, like all the teams, though, in fairness, they haven't quite had the reps yet. And we talked on the show, if this game was maybe 7-8 weeks into the season, I think we would have seen a little different matchup. But Denton Geyer's building. They want to build like every state contender for a deep run in December, and this year January. State championships will be in January this year at AT&T Stadium.
And I mean, I totally agree with you, John. If this game was several weeks later on into the season, or if this game was actually played last season when John Walsh was still running the ship for Denton Guyer, I feel like it would have been a completely, maybe not a completely different matchup, but it could have been at the very least a different score. You might have even seen Denton Guyer have a little bit more of a rhythm going. But like you said, this was a very tough matchup for the Wildcats playing. I mean, the number one team in 5A are the Ryan Raiders. So, I mean, even though it was 6A versus 5A, Ryan is an incredibly talented group. And I mean, Dave Hennigan knows what he's doing over there. And he came up with a fantastic game plan to slow down Rodney Webb and company.
Speaking of Hennigan, his son, Seth Hennigan, had a huge game, ran for over right at 100 yards.
9 carries, 101 yards. So he averaged over 10 yards a carry. And he had over 100 yards through the air as well.
Threw the ball well, very efficient. So they mixed it up well. Kiori Hicks, man, the real deal. You know, he's been a 3-year starter, but kind of played in that backfield behind Imani Bailey last season. But and they were getting 5, 6, 7 yards a carry. It seemed like from Kiori Hicks. A lot of great production from that Denton Ryan. I wouldn't really call him a fullback, but I guess he's a hybrid fullback, tailback.
And Hicks is actually number 4 in all of 5A right now in rushing, 43 carries on the season, 276 yards, just 2 touchdowns, but he's averaging nearly 6.5 yards a carry through 2 games, John. So Kiori Hicks been putting in a lot of production for that Raiders offense. Absolutely.
And, it's kind of reminiscent of last year's miracle at AT&T Stadium when Guyer had several onside kicks to come back and beat Cedar Hill. Early in the game, they went with an onside kick, recovered it, had a lot of momentum. But Denton Ryan comes out with a victory there. And, really for bragging rights, these kids, have known each other since 5th, 6th grade. And, you could tell they were both hungry to win that game.
It was kind of just like you said, just almost like an upgraded backyard game. You know what I mean? Like a lot of the dudes out there for both clubs know each other. And it was, it was a very familiar environment, obviously being played at CH Collins where both of those teams play. And it was, like I said, just a great game plan by Dave Hennigan and the Ryan Raiders. They knew what they needed to do to slow down the Wildcats, and they made it happen.
Hey, next up, Guyer has a Thursday night game back at CH Collins, Mansfield Lake Ridge, 7 p.m. kick. But some news, and we swore to you guys that we wouldn't talk about COVID anymore, but we got to talk about COVID. It's impacted Denton Ryan.
Yeah, unfortunately, Denton Ryan has had to basically delay their season. They're taking a 14-day quarantine break due to just COVID-19 regulations and concerns. So they were supposed to play Frisco Reedy on Friday, John, and unfortunately that game and next week's game as well is sort of in limbo right now. I'm not 100% sure if they're going to have to cancel one or both of those games, if they're trying to reschedule both of them. I'm sure they're trying to get at least one of them fit back into the schedule. You certainly wouldn't want to see the Raiders have to cancel 2 whole games on their schedule.
Toya P has a great comment. A lot of these kids, the Denton Ryan, Denton Guyer kids have known each other even in elementary school, before 5th and 6th grade. They may have played flag football or soccer together or been in Cub Scouts together or whatever it might be. Just great community, great relationships. And that's really what high school football is all about, Grayson.
Absolutely. And, we're obviously just hoping that everybody's staying safe in the Denton Ryan personnel and organization right now. And to our knowledge, Denton Guyer has not been impacted in any way because of what's going on with Denton Ryan. So that is at least good to hear for the Wildcats. And we just hope that Ryan is able to get through this and that their season is able to eventually get going again. And John, I was honestly just dealing with this with Louisville as well. I call their games on Friday nights, and even though we don't cover them on the show, they were just in a situation where they just played Wiley this past Friday, and now Wiley has COVID things going on with their organization. And I know Louisville is trying to make sure that all of their kids are good to go right now. And to my knowledge, their game is still going on. But, even though we don't want to talk about COVID and we want everybody to be able to play, we got to understand that these things are going to happen. I mean, it's happening in the NFL right now. It's just the situation that everybody's in. And we know that each school is going to handle it to the best of their ability.
Well, Grayson, next up, Denton High Broncos.
The Broncos.
Chisholm Trail.
Now, they played the
Nice
Lake
win.
Dallas Falcons last week. That was kind of a in-show head-to-head matchup as we covered both of those teams. Lake Dallas able to come out on top in that matchup last week. Denton High, though, play at home at Bronco Field on Friday night against Chisholm Trail coming out of Saginaw, and they get a really honestly impressive win, John. 32-16 is the final score, but Denton High took a 23-0 lead in the first quarter. Coco Brown, the running back, took the first play from scrimmage, 75
man,
yards.
I like that name too, Coco Brown.
Coco
man,
Brown,
that'd be
man.
fun to call on the radio.
He had himself a game. 22 carries, 180 yards, 3 touchdowns. He also had about 30 yards receiving, but he really led the way for the Broncos, helped them secure a 23-0 lead in the first quarter, and Denton High didn't look back for the rest of the night. They come out on top over Chisholm Trail, 32-16.
Well, hey, quarterback Blake Courtney, only 5 of 10, 40 yards, 1 interception. But rushing, like you said, Coco Brown, 3 touchdowns, 180 yards. And then Kevin Bell Jr., 6 carries for 31. Boy, they really put it on Coco Brown's back to make that happen. A big night for the young fella.
Yeah, he had like I said, he took the first play from scrimmage, 75 yards for a touchdown. He also had a 47-yard touchdown later in the game. And then his third score was on an 11-yard run. And then there were actually 2 fumbles that were forced by the Denton High defense in the first quarter that they recovered, both that helped them get that 23-0 early lead. And then, as I mentioned, the Broncos also had a punt return for a touchdown by Devin Barnett, and he took that thing 70 yards for a special team score in the first half. So the Broncos dominated in all 3 phases of the game right from the get-go and held the lead for all 4 quarters and did a great job against Chisholm Trail.
And next up, Denton High will play the Colony Friday at Bronco Field, 7 p.m. kick. Hey, one news, we like to share some news with you. They haven't broken ground yet, but I've seen a video rendering of a new stadium that's going to be built right there at Braswell. So Denton ISD will have really 3 stadiums. You know.
And if you, where do you remember where you saw the video at?
Yeah, I've got it. It's like a Vimeo video.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say, maybe keep an eye out for that. That might be getting out on social media.
Yeah. Maybe we can share that out. I'll make sure we have permission. I don't see why not, but we'll share that out. It's going to be an intimate 6,500 seat stadium, and it'll give the Denton ISD teams a chance to all play on a Friday night, which, I think most fans prefer that. Friday night games. It's really Texas tradition under the lights on a Friday night.
Right, because Denton High has Bronco Field, but right now Braswell, Geyer, and Denton Ryan all call CH Collins Athletic Complex home at the moment. So the fact that Braswell is going to get a location for some Bengals home games is fantastic to hear. And that was something that Cody Moore was talking about with us before the show too. He's really excited for it as well.
Yeah, man. It's a fun being in football season, talking to coaches and some players, and we're probably gonna kick off a couple Saturday shows. I know you and I are busy on Thursday, Friday nights, but we've talked about adding in a Saturday show from time to time. So we'll have to get together, and it'll be kind of like a pop-up store. It'll be a pop-up show. We may not announce it too much in advance, but we may be texting on a Friday night and say, hey, that was a great night of football last night. Let's do a show on Saturday.
So Braswell looking ahead to the future about getting a new stadium. Cody Moore excited about it, and I'm sure Cody Moore is excited about the win that the Bengals were able to get on Friday nights. And I'm calling this the nail biter of the week, John, because the Bengals went out against the Keller Indians on the road, took it to overtime, and it was just an absolute thriller. Tristan McClary found Jerian Wallace in the back of the end zone on the run. Fantastic throw, great catch in double overtime to come out on top, 59-40.
What an exciting game.
Unbelievable game.
We didn't have a lot of time to talk to Coach Moore before we went live on our show, but we should have probably gotten into that a little bit with him. Man, shame on us.
Well, we got to just harp on the players, obviously, that have just been on fire for Braswell. Tristan McClary is on another level right now in his first 2 games of the season. New quarterback for Braswell, and he comes in. He's currently leading all of 6A in passing, number 1, with completing about 56% of his passes, but he's leading with 740 total yards, and he's got 10 touchdowns, no interceptions, couple of rushing touchdowns to his name too. Tristan McClary has been outstanding for the Bengals.
Yeah, what an asset to have back there. And we've got Coach Moore flashed up on the screen here while we talk about the Braswell Bengals. Man, what an asset to have. He was featured. We talked about him a lot last week. Grayson,
one of our gridiron players of the week last week for
week
1.
And then what an asset to have D. Gafford back there, 12 carries, just under 100 yards, 98 yards. And then a nice balance. Jamarion Sanford had 15 carries for 77 yards. And then, Tristan had to carry it about 9 times, probably scrambling or maybe some run pass options. But nice balance attack between, that adds up to about 570 yards of total offense.
Yeah, and I know I just spit out McClary's season stats, but in this one, he threw 49 passes. He went 28 of 49. So the fact that a high school quarterback is throwing nearly 50 passes just goes to show how much trust that Cody Moore has in McClary. But he threw for 334 total yards, 4 touchdowns, had about 40 yards rushing, no interceptions, just another solid performance by the Bengals leader. And like you said, they're Davian Gafford. They like to call him D Gafford. He had about 100 yards rushing. Jamarian Sanford, did a great job contributing in the run game as well. And then several receivers for Braswell really showed up. J.K. Carter, 131 yards and a touchdown. Cam Smith had 2 touchdowns. Jacob Hernandez had a touchdown. Jerian Wallace, like we said, caught the game-winning touchdown in overtime. So McClary loves to spread the ball around as well in that offense. And it's just it's been a nice first 2 weeks in 6A for Braswell. Even though they dropped game 1, they come back and they get their first District 6A win in week 2 against the Keller Indians.
And then next up, Braswell will be traveling to Richardson Pierce. Pierce always has a good football program, so that's not going to be any easy task. We probably should have looked, Dave Campbell's Texas Football does like a little computer point spread thing. That's always kind of fun to look at. Maybe we'll start probably weaving those into the show next week, but they're on the road Friday night, 7:00 at Richardson's Eagle Stadium. Wow, good stuff right there. Flower Mound Jags, they're off to a 2-0 start. Coach Brian Basil, he's really put his stamp on that program and doing a great job. I had a chance to visit with him on Sunday, and resounding win over Naaman Forest, 29-9. We've talked about him, and we'll probably talk about him each week. Nick Evers, another big night.
Yeah, Nick Evers, another new quarterback out there in the 9 area teams that we covered. Tristan McClary, new guy in town for the Braswell Bengals. Well, Nick Evers is the same thing over there for the Jaguars. He threw for 317 yards, 2 touchdowns in this win over Naaman Forest. So once again, he's really leading the way. Seems like he looked even better this week, John, than he did in last week's win for Flower Mound. But he did have 1 interception, but he still was making some really big plays. He came up with a huge 73-yard connection to Isaac Carpenter for a touchdown to start the second quarter. That really got things going for the Jags for the rest of the night. And then the Flower Mound also was great on defense. They had 2 interceptions against Naaman Forest, and one was by Christian Klaterbaugh, which helped set up a late touchdown in the 4th that, just really cemented that win for the Jaguars. But after 2 weeks, seems like there's already improvement from week 1 to week 2.
Yeah, Stone Eby and Colton Votney kind of anchor that defensive front, had another solid game. It's going to be fun to watch Flower Mound. Man, I can't wait later in the season when the Marcus and Flower Mound game, that'll be an exciting matchup again this season.
With just the way that Evers has been playing on the offensive side. Also, Isaac Carpenter had a great game, 5 catches, over 100 yards and a touchdown. But we always I'm glad that you always bring up that defensive front of Eby and Vatney, because they just continue to be so solid for that Jaguars defense. 3 turnovers for Flower Mound on the defensive side. They had 2 interceptions, like I said, and they forced a fumble. And those 2 big men in the middle allowing less than 3 yards per carry out of the Naaman Forest run game.
And Stry, the nose tackle, he's doing a good job. Not a real big guy, but Coach Basil says he's got great technique, knows how to shoot the gaps, and they're playing well. Next up, they are back at home. First game home this year at Neil Wilson Stadium on Friday, 7 p.m. And I know the Jaguar fans, the Jag Nation they call them, will be excited to be out there. I think they'll have some limited capacity, but having those on-campus stadiums, I think, are the best.
Yeah, and they're taking on, a pretty tough Mansfield Timberview team. They've looked pretty impressive in their first 2 weeks, so that'll be a fun
top 10 team.
Game.
Actually, a top 10 team, I think, in the state.
So it could be a very
test.
Big win. It'll be a big win for Flower Mound if they're able to get it at home, though. Could give them a ton of momentum for the rest of the season.
Next up, Flower Mound Marcus Marauders versus the McKinney Lions. Marcus won this thing pretty handily, 27-10, Grayson.
It was a little close in the first half. I was keeping track of that during my Louisville broadcast. I believe McKinney was they might have actually been up in the first quarter, like 10-3 or something like that. And Marcus kind of had to work their way back into it. But in the second half, they really seized control. They scored 17 unanswered in the second half. So that was really where the Marauders pulled away. Garrett Nussmeier, though, just put Marcus on his back this week. He throws 48 passes in his game, 33 of 48, 341 yards, 3 touchdowns. Also led the team in rushing. Marcus really wasn't able to get much on the ground at all. So
LSU commit, so he's talented.
Absolutely,
a ton of talent. Boy, there are a lot of Division I programs that were wanting his services, and he's chosen to go to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, in that high-powered offense of the Tigers.
And he really was just the whole reason why the Marauders were able to come back and secure the win in this one. He just kept his offense in it all game long, really spread the ball out between his top 3 receivers. Tyler Schott actually had the best game on the wide receiver core. You usually would think it'd be J. Michael Sturdivant, but Schott gets 6 catches, 120 yards, 2 scores. J. Michael Sturdivant still did his thing, though, 11 catches, 94 yards, and Connor Vaughn had 86 yards and a touchdown as well.
Yeah, his receivers are going to get a lot of touches. If you're a receiver in North Texas, that's definitely a place you want to play.
Absolutely.
They like to throw the ball at Marcus and always have.
Big credit to Garrett Nussmeier and head coach Kevin Atkinson and the rest of the Marauders for making it happen on the offensive side of the ball and capturing that win. And the defense also did their thing. 2 turnovers, 1 interception, and 1 fumble against the McKinney Lions.
Yeah, good play right there. Congratulations, Marcus. Next up, they will be at Keller Central on Friday.
The Chargers.
7 p.m. kick at Keller ISD Stadium.
That should be another pretty solid win for Marcus. We'll talk a little bit more about that matchup maybe later on.
Man, I tell you what, we were focused on Argyle the first couple weeks because they were the only team playing in the coverage area, being 4A.
They were kind of the only recap we were able to do during a lot of our preseason shows when we were getting to interview all the 5 and 6A coaches. Over here in 4A, Argyle's just been dominating.
Yeah. Hey, number 1 in the state, and they proved it once again, playing a tough Melissa. Melissa Cardinals is one of these, they're like the Argyle on the east side of the Metroplex, that small Friday night light town, Melissa, Texas, beautiful stadium, great, fairly new campus, and a lot of growth there, Melissa, and a great program. And they took care of business 48-28.
Yeah, this actually kicked off District 7 4A play for Argyle and Melissa. And the Eagles, like you said, able to cruise to a 48-28 win. Honestly, senior quarterback CJ Rogers led Argyle to its 41st straight home win, John. That is crazy impressive. He totaled 5 touchdowns, 4 through the air, 1 on the ground. Braden Baker also did a great job in the run game for the Eagles as well.
Yeah, they jump out to a quick lead. And really, it's hard to play from catch up when you're down 21-0. But in the first quarter, I might add, Argyle jumps out. CJ Rogers, we like saying this name on the show, Cash Walker, back-to-back touchdowns of 37 and 35 yards. And I reached out to Coach Rogers. He's a busy guy, being the athletic director, head football coach, and everything he's got going on there at Argyle. But congratulations, Todd Rogers, the Argyle Eagles, for another solid victory.
And they opened up district play 1-0, and they are now 5-0 on the year. Melissa fell to 5-1, so that's actually Argyle was their first loss on the season. So that just honestly just goes to show how good Argyle really is. Melissa, a very talented team, and the Eagles just do their thing. Like you said, Cash Walker. Actually, he only has 2 catches on the game, and both of them were for touchdowns, John. 2 catches, 72 yards, 2 scores for Cash Walker. You love to see that.
Hey, I can't not do this, but hey, that's money.
That is money.
Cash.
You're right. And then Cole Kirkpatrick, obviously got to give a shout out to him. Just the stud that he was in that game. 6 catches, 160 yards, 2 scores for him. Cole Kirkpatrick, obviously it seems so normal for him to perform that way, but still fantastic performance by the wide receiver Kirkpatrick as well this week. And the Argyle defense, 5 turnovers as well. Huge mark for them on that side of the ball.
Another storyline, Tito Bice did not get a carry again. We're not sure his health condition. Hopefully that's just a precaution and he'll be back soon. But They balance it out. Braden Baker, 13 carries, 75 yards, and a touchdown. Knox Goggins, 15 carries, 39 yards. Also, congratulations, Cole Kirkpatrick this past week. I think he got an offer from the Fighting Illini, Big Ten offer.
Oh, Illinois.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Illinois.
And also, I know we haven't brought him up. He didn't have a gigantic game against Melissa, but Jasper Lott, who's always he's that guy that maybe even if he's not putting up huge stats, he's out there putting up big blocks and being a leader and being a huge contributor for Argyle out there on the field. He has officially committed to the Horned Frogs of TCU. So congratulations to Jasper Lott, the tight end and defensive end for the Eagles as well.
Next up, Argyle travels to Anna.
Taking on the Coyotes.
Is that a Thursday night game?
That is a Thursday night game.
Okay.
That's the only other Thursday night game, as well as the Denton Geyer game that we talked about against Mansfield Lake Ridge. Both of those games will be played on Thursday night.
Yeah, Denton Geyer was originally scheduled to play on Friday, but there was, I think, a double booking or something. I don't know if it was COVID related. They had to move that game to Thursday, so they'll be up at C.H. Collins tomorrow night. Next up, Lake Dallas was at Frisco Centennial at Toyota Stadium. That's a thing about Lake Dallas. They get to play in that district over there, or they play a lot of Frisco teams where they get to play in the Star, Toyota Stadium, and some fantastic venues for Texas high school football.
I've only had the pleasure of calling one game at Toyota Stadium, but I had a great time doing it. Their staff over there took great care of us and I remember getting a really nice spot, like right near the 50 and being like, man, they were really taking care of our group over here. And that was when I was with KNTU. So Toyota Stadium, fantastic place to play soccer or football.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, Lake Dallas, they're only one of the two teams, unfortunately, out of all the teams that we covered this league, John, that took a loss. They fell to Frisco Centennial 38-15. The Falcons actually struck first in that one. They were able to get the first touchdown in the game on a run by Andre Minifield, but Frisco Centennial ended up responding really well to that, and they scored 17 unanswered to close out the half. So it was 17-7 going into the locker room. And then turnovers were the big thing for Lake Dallas in this one, as Frisco Centennial capitalized on a lot of turnovers that the Falcons had in the second half. And Hunter Markham, though, was able to punch in a second score for Lake Dallas before it was all said and done. So final score there, 38-15. But the Falcons still have some questions to answer.
Yeah, one of
Michael Young over there as
the key
coach.
question marks coming into this season and talking to Coach Young was that offense. Trevor Moon, he got quite a bit of reps last season, but was developing. Just didn't have quite the time. They didn't really have the spring to really develop. So it'd be interesting to see how senior quarterback Trevor Moon continues to develop as this season goes on. They're going to have some production out of him, putting more points on the board to win some ball games.
Yeah, and the one thing that I will say about Trevor Moon that he's done well in his first two games. Obviously, they got the win last week against Denton High, so credit to him there to leading them to a victory in week one. But in both games, he's been able to get it going at least a little bit through the air and on the ground. So he has that dual threat potential. I think maybe if Lake Dallas and Michael Young, I'm not 100% sure on how their offensive scheme is running over there right now, but they should take a hard look at a couple of teams in the NFL, like the Baltimore Ravens with Lamar Jackson or the Arizona Cardinals with Kyler Murray. If Trevor Moon's got the potential to throw and run, I think the Falcons should definitely start maybe taking a look at that and taking more advantage and allowing Moon to, make the defense guess a little bit more. And that could really open things up for Lake Dallas.
Yeah. They'll
not that they've been unproductive. Like we said, they got a win last week. It's just, Frisco Centennial, 17 unanswered points. There obviously was a disconnect in the game plan at some point. So you think that it's obviously going to get addressed in film and stuff like that. But Trevor Moon obviously is supposed to be the leader of that offense. He's supposed to be the guy that makes that engine run. And you're just hoping that he continues to get better each week. And Michael Young is able to put him in positions to succeed.
Well, Grayson, last recap of the week, Liberty Christian versus Parish Episcopal. Liberty looked to get back, in the right side of the win column, but Parish Episcopal, I talked to one of the Liberty coaches, a day or two before the game. He said Parish Episcopal is a real deal, very talented team, and they end up losing that one 50-24.
Yeah, Parish Episcopal, just another really solid program that the Liberty Christian Warriors had I guess, disfortune of having to run into. They fall 50-24 in a pretty tough loss, but the Warriors actually got going very similar to Lake Dallas early on in the game and kind of just fell off by the end of it. Liberty Christian started strong, opening an early 14-7 lead. Daniel Greek was able to connect with Christian Driver for an early 24-yard score, and then it was followed by a 12-yard touchdown by Greek. And then after a early 14-7 lead, the Panthers just really got it going in their side of things. And by going into this, by the end of the third quarter, it seemed like Parish Episcopal had control. Daniel Greek ends the game, 154 yards, 1 passing touchdown, 1 rushing touchdown. But Ty Strickland, who's also got a couple of D2 offers and stuff, he had 25 carries, 95 yards, and a touchdown. So solid game for him as well.
Next up for Liberty, they travel, and Coach Griggs told us they play in like the SEC of TAPS. So never a week off for them.
No,
I mean,
they're
I'm not talking about a bye week, just every week they have a tough opponent.
Yeah, they're about to hit the road and take on the All Saints. And I know a little bit about this team, and they are just another really good TAPS program that, is just another test for these Liberty Christian Warriors. They're going to have to adapt quickly, and you just hope that they are able to keep it close and maybe come out on top on the road next week.
Well, Grayson, this is going to be kind of how our show flows. We tweak things up, but we're going to wrap the show up with kind of next week's matchups and kind of our thoughts on them.
Yeah, kind of preview what's going on.
A couple players of the week, so you want to stay tuned for that, and then we'll feature some players of the week and wrap up.
So taking a look at this week's matchups, obviously we'll Den Ryan, obviously not playing this week, John, like we mentioned earlier. They're going to be out for the next 2 weeks due to COVID regulations and concerns. So nothing crazy going on. No game for Ryan this weekend. Denton Geyer, though, does have one of the 2 Thursday night games that our teams are playing this week, John. They're going against Mansfield Lake Ridge at CH Collins, 7 o'clock kickoff tomorrow night.
Well, I had a chance to talk to Coach Webb and Coach Thor. Coach Thor is the first and only coach of Mansfield Lake Ridge. They went to the state championship in 2015 in 5A, and they've got a phenomenal program. He did say this is going to be a little bit of a rebuilding year. They're 0-2. However, if they can stay in the game, they got some talented players. Coach Webb is not overlooking this one, Grayson.
No, absolutely not.
And obviously Geyer wants to bounce back hard and win this game. Mansfield would obviously love to have an upset on the road at CH Collins, but we're going to have to go with Geyer winning this one probably by 3 or 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, I think that the Wildcats are going to bounce back big in this one. They're at home. It's not this, big hometown rivalry anymore. You're taking on an 0-2 Lake Ridge team. Like you said, they're a younger team this year. Had a really big year back in 2015, but just kind of on a younger roster this season. So they're 0-2 to start the year. I know that Roddy Webb's not trying to lose 2 in a row, and I don't think that the Wildcats are going to allow that to happen. Definitely expecting Geyer to come out big at home in this one.
Next up, Denton High versus the Colony Friday. Both teams are 1-1. Grayson, what's your thoughts on that one?
So the Colony has always been a really solid team in 5A. The Cougars, you just can never count them out. They've always got a great program over there. And Den High is coming off their first one of the year against Chisholm Trail. But I do think that the Cougars are overall a really solid team. They have a really great offense. They've been scoring with a lot of efficiency in their first 2 games of the season. And they may be 1-1, but their first loss in week 1, I believe they lost by just 3 points, John. So I'm going to have to give it to the Cougars here. Even though Denton High is at home at Bronco Field, I think that the Colony is going to walk in and capture their second win of the year. I think Denton High is going to make it close, though, simply because they're at Bronco Field.
I'm going to give the edge to Coach Billy Miller and the
I like that
Denton Broncos. They're he's going to get them ready to play, and just kind of the X factor. I think Coach Miller is the X factor in that program. Former Marcus player and was a receiver at Vanderbilt, and just brings that X factor to that practice and to that locker room. And it'd be nice to talk about a Denton Bronco win this time next week.
Agree. And I mean, Coco Brown obviously had a fantastic game against Chisholm Trail, and the Broncos really performed in all three facets of the game. They had a punt return for a touchdown, they had turnovers on defense, and they had some big scores by Coco Brown in the run game on offense. So, I mean, if you dominate in all three phases of the game again, there's no reason why you're not going to get your second win at home. So we'll see how that goes for Billy Miller and company.
Next up, Grayson, Braswell 1-1 at Richardson Pierce. Like I mentioned before, Richardson always has a solid program. They're 2-0, and they're on the road at Richardson's Eagle Mustang Stadium.
Yeah, Braswell still new to 6A. They just got their first win against Keller, and I think that the Bengals, just because of how good Tristan McClary is looking right now, it seems like he's going to just keep getting better as the season goes on. And there's just so much talent out there for the Bengals. I think that after they got, a really impressive week 2 win, their first 6A win, I think that really instilled some confidence in the Bengals. Be like, hey, you know what? We can win in 6A. We do belong here. I think that the Bengals and Cody Moore are going to go out there and they're going to capture a win against the Mustangs.
Well, I've got it pulled up. I'm not sure how they come up with these point differentials, but Richardson's a 23-point favorite.
Wow. So they really think that Richardson's going to, I mean, Richardson's a really good team, but I think that Braswell's just got a ton of talent. Man.
That's some bulletin board material. I guarantee you Cody Moore probably has that posted in the locker room. 23-point underdog. A lot to prove there for that young Braswell team.
I mean, Pierce is a talented group, so we'll have to see how that goes at Eagle Mustang Stadium on Friday night, 7:00 kickoff there.
Next up, Flower Mound taking that 2-0 on the road season start, playing at home against Mansfield Timberview. They're 2-0 as well, Grayson. It's going to be a challenging game.
Yeah, this is the home opener for the Jaguars. So, big for Flower Mound there. Nick Evers looked like he really took a step up from week 1 to week 2, looked even better in their second game. Both of these teams are 2-0 though, and this Mansfield Timberview team is top 10 ranked in the state. They are really, really talented, John. Even though this one's at home for Flower Mound, I find it really tough to not give the Wolves at least a little bit of an edge in this one. Wouldn't be surprised if the Jaguars made it close, especially if Nick Evers keeps improving. I've been impressed with his play.
Mansfield's only a 6-point favorite, so it's just a touchdown, kind of like a pick 'em.
I can agree with that. It is Flower Mound's home opener. It's a big game for them, and it could be a big statement win for Nick Evers and company if they're able to capture that, hand Timberview their first loss of the season. That could really, like I said, spell how the Jaguars might play for the rest of the year.
Flower Mound's playing with a lot of mojo. They're playing as a unit, as a family. And
underdogs at home, that's definitely a chip on your shoulder.
Kind of like
that they want to
that
establish
A&M
themselves.
mentality, like that 12th man. When you have that team unity like Flower Mound has right now, it's just an unmeasurable. You can't really put a value on it. Well, you can. It's very valuable, and it might be the X factor this week.
And you gotta obviously give credit to Brian Basil too. I mean, he's just one of the most level-headed coaches that you've got out there. I know that even though that this is a big game for them, he knows exactly what he needs to do to come out with a victory. I'd love to see it happen for the Jags in their home opener.
Next up, Flower Mound Marcus at Keller Central. Marcus starts the season 2-0. Keller Central is 1-1. They are on the road at Keller ISD Stadium. What do you think about that one, Grayson?
Yeah, this is going to be one of the other blowouts that I'm going to give to our team that we're talking about here, John. The Marcus Marauders are on fire in their first 2 weeks. Garrett Nussmeyer is just an absolute monster right now. He's number 2 in 6A behind Tristan McClary of Braswell. So the LSU commit Nussmeyer, I think that him and the Marauders offense have way too much firepower for Keller Central to handle. I'm expecting a big win for Marcus in this one.
A 35-point favorite.
I can see why. Even though it's on the road, it's at Keller ISD Athletic Complex. Marcus is just way too talented of a team for the Chargers, I think.
Argyle 5-0 at Anna. Anna's 2-4 Thursday night. Man, Argyle is just rolling. I don't see Anna slowing them down at all.
There is no reason why Anna should slow down the Argyle Eagles. They're not even the best team that Argyle's played this season. That was the team that they just beat 48-28, the Melissa Cardinals. They were undefeated going into that game. They hand Melissa their first loss of the season, and the foot has been on the gas for the Eagles since week 1. There's no reason why they shouldn't go 6-0 after this one against the Coyotes.
Next up, Lake Dallas, Frisco Raccoons at Lake Dallas Stadium, Falcon Field. What are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah. Home game for Lake Dallas. Hate to say that they're going to lose 2 in a row, but I think it's just going to I think it's going to happen here. The Raccoons are 2-0 going into this game, and they've looked very good in their first 2 games of the season. And it's at home for Lake Dallas. And like I said, maybe Michael Young's trying to work some things out to open the game up a bit more for Trevor Moon and that Lake Dallas offense. If maybe they can bring some new things to the table, open up the offense a bit more, it could be closer. But I'm thinking the Raccoons might just come out with a blowout in this one on the road at Lake Dallas.
And again, I have no idea how these computers pick these things. It must be points scored, points allowed. That's really the only variables I can think of. Maybe last year's record. I don't know. But Frisco's a 44-point favorite on this.
Oof, yeah, that's quite a favorite there. Yeah, the Raccoons are a talented group. They're 2-0. Lake Dallas is still trying to work some things out and find out their identity.
And then Liberty Christian 0-2, trying to get their first win of the season at All Saints. All Saints has just played 1 game. They're 1-0. Going to be a challenge on the road.
I mean, you said it earlier, John. It's just the fact. It's just the facts. I mean, Liberty Christian plays in arguably the toughest TAPS division in a private school district, and the All Saints are, to my knowledge, one of the best teams in TAPS, and they just played their first game of the season last week, so they're 1-0 actually right now. Liberty Christian 0-2, and I think that the Warriors will make it a little bit closer than they have in their first 2 games. I don't think that they're going to take another 20-plus point loss, but I think that the All Saints are going to come out on top at home in this one.
Yeah, I'm pulling for Liberty. You know, I hate to see teams, you know, you work so hard and prepare each and every week.
It happens to teams in college football too. I mean, Vanderbilt's got to play in the SEC every single year, and it just happens to some schools, and Liberty Christian just has tough competition throughout this entire season. They're going to have to adapt.
Well, hey, in our final segment here on today's Denko Gridiron Show, we want to talk about some players of the week.
Our Gridiron Players of the Week. So last week, we posted these just on Facebook just to see how the fans would like it, John. And it seemed like we got some pretty good reactions out of it. Seemed like people really liked that we brought some Players of the Week to the table. So you know what? We decided to just instill it to the show and talk about them here to end things off.
Well, why don't you kick us off with the quarterback from Marcus?
We gotta give it this week to Garrett Nussmeier, the Marcus Marauders quarterback. 33 of 48, 341 yards, 3 touchdowns. He also had 6 carries for 24 yards in his team's 27-10 win over the McKinney Lions. Led his team in rushing and passing in that game, and he also led all 9 area teams that we cover, John, in pass attempts, completions, and percentage. So huge game for Garrett Nussmeier. That's the reason why he's one of our 3 Gridiron Players of the Week.
Yeah, what an effort. What an effort. And then next up from Denton High, Coco Brown, 22 carries, 180 yards, 3 touchdowns. He literally carried the Denton Broncos to victory, had 1 catch for 29 yards. Boy, this is unusual. Led team in both rushing and receiving. Led all 9 area teams in rushing yards and scores this week. Took the first play from scrimmage for 75 yards and a touchdown in a 32-16 win over Chisholm Trail. Congratulations, Coco Brown, Gridiron Player of the Week from the Denton Broncos.
Denton High able to snag their first win of the season against Chisholm Trail, and it was all because of Coco Brown. He was just absolutely dominant in that game for them in week 2. And finally, to end things off, we're going to switch it on down to 4A. The Argyle Eagles, Cole Kirkpatrick had himself a day in that 48-28 win over the Melissa Cardinals. 6 catches, 160 yards, 2 touchdowns, led all 9 area teams that we cover in receiving yards and scores this week for wide receivers. So Cole Kirkpatrick, even though he's down there in 4A, really showing out each and every game. I mean, this is basically the standard for him. And he just got a nice D1 offer from the University of Illinois. So congratulations to Cole Kirkpatrick being our 3rd and final Gridiron Player of the Week.
Well, fans, that's another segment. Well, that was fast and furious, Grayson.
I know. We got through a lot of content there. Hopefully it was
just under an hour. So we try to keep it right at the lunch hour, noon to 1. Sometimes it may go over, depending on our guests, what we have to talk about. We try to keep it less, but thank you for joining us on your lunch hour. And for everybody that commented, and we're going to have some giveaways. I think a big week next week as far as the giveaways.
Yeah, everybody continue to just tune in. And we're going to continue to just make this thing better for you guys each and every week. Continue to bring some good content, do some giveaways, keep shouting out our sponsors, and giving you guys some great Texas high school football content.
And that's going to do it for us. Until next week, y'all be safe. Take care.
From Fox 4, make sure to tune in to the Denko Gridiron Show.